I'm going to offer a summary of the portion of Transcendental Kabbalah that I've covered so far this year between December and now. So for those just tuning in or who don't know or don't remember, Transcendental Kabbalah is a system of philosophy, and it has 36 concepts in it that are mapped to the zodiac. So every 10 days, one of the concepts is in play, basically. And the point of the system is to be very exhaustive as philosophy, and also to offer a guide for how to sort of live in the most vital way in this rapidly changing world of ours. Okay, so there are a number of books. The first book is called The Artwork, and then there are two books about method. One has addresses questions about the starting point of philosophy, or just kind of how to begin, how to start philosophizing. And then there's a second book about this that is more abstract and less personal, I guess. And but both of these books about how to start doing philosophy are really steeped in the history of philosophy. It's been a major source of fascination to me. What philosophers take for granted, I guess, basically, when they start, when they sort of decide to like lay down a foundation stone and then build a system on it. I have so much trouble doing that, and what I ended up arriving at was that there is not one foundation. There are 4 foundations, and those are the 4 cardinals: ascesis, catharsis, fervor, and majesty. And one could suppose that these 4 dimensions are available to us because of language for some reason. They play out in sort of different cultural horizons that are not explicitly philosophical, any of them. So a lot of the first sort of quarter of the system really is just getting started and kind of laying down the groundwork for the rest of it, except for the very beginning, the part on the artwork. That is really more visionary than philosophical, so to speak. There I present the ideas of the arc, the armistice, and sacred labor, and the arc is something like the Spirit of God as it's working through human history, through religion, as well as the arts and sciences. The arc is the correct object of desire, and there's so much in this world that we that are incorrect objects of desire, and the essence of philosophy always, no matter what the philosophy says, really, the path that philosophy always traces is from false worldly desires to a sort of true desire that is contemplative and also contains sort of universal ideals for a sort of new future for civilization. I guess it doesn't all. Anyway, in my view, it does that. Not everybody sees it that way, but and then there's the idea of the armistice is that their culture. There's always a horizon that we're in, And the horizon is a field of intelligibility that uh, society can operate within, and there's a lot that is intelligible within the horizon, but the horizon has roots that are not intelligible from within the horizon, and people don't understand. You can't think all the way down to first principles in any given horizon, but philosophy, as well as other practices, can go in that direction, but you still never really get to the foundation, because the closer you get, the more you just kind of uproot the horizon is a terrible mixed metaphors, but before you, the more you sort of, I guess, show that the horizon is perhaps not so absolute and is rather relative. The horizon becomes sort of skin that is being shed by the cosmic snake of the world history, and then the great labor is the idea that there has been a lineage that has sort of been pursuing this, and that there's a kind of practice that is possible, a practice of aesthetics, which is kind of somewhere between art and religion and science, and it's really hard to pin down what it is, and by definition, as soon as you've pinned it down and given it a place in the world, it is no longer sacred labor. So that's kind of an animating orientation, I guess, for the whole system. And then after the introductory chapters on method, then there is the theology, which I'll leave aside for now. I spent a long time on that. And then there is the section on philosophy, where there are four main topics: axiology, the theory of value; metaphysics, the theory of being; cosmogony, the theory of history and time; and eschatology, which is the theory of what heaven will be like. And those are all, ideally, they are all sort of tied together. You would actually derive your eschatology from those other topics. But not just from that, there's also revelation involved. So I had gotten as far as that 40 days ago, and then after having arrived at an eschatology, then the next topic was philosophy of art. And but basically what I've done with philosophy of art is apply the four cardinals, which are really sort of universal principles in the system, to the aesthetic field, and not just randomly. I think that that really is sort of cutting things at the joints, as some like to say, that there are four possible things that art can be, and I've gone through this in this past month, this past 40 days. That there's a religious domain, there's a classical rationalist domain, there's a materialist, sort of insurgent, anti-humanist sort of domain, and then there is aesthetics as sheer power, and that there's some kind of cycle. It's not so much a Hegelian wheels of history as it is a sort of Lacanian four discourses or something. Like, those are four modes, and it's it's kind of like that as a social body. is born and then sort of grows to maturity and then dies, that these four parts of the cycle end up getting passed through. But there's no guarantee that a full cycle will happen. And what's of more interest to me is that, insofar as I'm proposing a way of making art, that I'm proposing that all four cardinals be employed. And I think I might have even said this in the very last video I posted, or at least I've said it more than once during this 40-day session, but that the only true art there can be has to participate in all four of these modes. That freedom, freedom, freedom sort of has to be the freedom to not make sense in any domain. And that's what art will do if it's participating in all four of these cardinals. And that kind of is a curse, because it's sort of hard for the work to really lift off if that's going on. Because there's this opposition between the world and the true vine, where sort of real things happen, and you can't be in the world and be the true vine at the same time. You just can't. So that's just a little refresher or introduction about how these recent topics fit in with the larger system. And the next 40-day section, which I'm super excited about because it's such a vocation of mine, obviously, is music. And I'll pretty much apply the same operation to music.